All right, welcome back. Very pleased now to have another special guest from a group that does great work, the New Civil Liberties Alliance. He's a litigation counsel there. Mr. Sheng Li is with us here on the Ringside Politics program. How are you? Good day.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Well, my pleasure, and so much to talk to you about. And your group has been involved in so many very, very important cases. I want to just talk a little bit, if we could, about what's been going on with these COVID mandates. And, this administration was so keen on, slapping these mandates on everyone. But, due to the work of your organization and others, we've had success in the courts fighting back against these mandates. And that's a positive thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And, for your listeners, there's multiple mandates out there. And what the administration has done most recently is respond to losses in courts by withdrawing the mandates and then trying to weasel out of these lawsuits so that they don't have a losing decision on the record that has precedential value. And we're trying to keep this issue alive. So moving forward, no administration can issue such sweeping healthcare-related mandates on Americans.
We don't want to go through this nightmare again. Also, a big victory in court in a case brought by our Attorney General here in Louisiana concerning censorship on social media and the fact that people that were raising questions about the mandates and other issues involving COVID or the election or whatever it is were censored due to the direction of these government officials in various agencies. And as the judge said, that is Orwellian. It's more akin to a ministry of truth. So that was another victory, wouldn't you say?
Of course. And that's, again, I think everyone would understand that the government can't come in and tell people what they can't and can't say and shut down speech that the government doesn't like. And it's just an easy next step to say, well, obviously the government can't go around and manipulate and threaten private companies to shut down speech on their behalf. They can't circumvent the First Amendment by ostensibly acting through a social media platform like Facebook or Twitter. And that's what the judge held. And I think it's a fairly simple ruling for the same reason. I think, if you come from the more maybe lefty side of things, you would obviously agree that the police can't search your house without a warrant, nor can they pay your neighbor to break into your house and search it without a warrant either. There's no real difference, and that's all the judge really held here.
Other victories we've had at the Supreme Court, they declared that the Biden administration's student loan debt cancellation plan was unlawful in Biden v. Nebraska, and your organization filed an amicus brief in that case. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, we made a number of arguments before the court, and the court were obviously receptive and shut down this decision. And honestly, I think Justice Roberts' six-justice majority opinion was quite uncontroversial, and perhaps on the merits, one of the most uncontroversial decisions of this term, despite what you might see on the mainstream media. All the opinion said is basically restate what then Speaker Nancy Pelosi said 2 years ago. When she was asked about this, she said, people think the president has the power of student loan debt forgiveness. And then she said, he does not. Only Congress has that power. And that's what she said. And when she said it, it was non-controversial. The White House didn't dispute her. The media didn't dispute her. No legal academics, had any problems with that. So it was really the consensus view of the majority of legal, the supermajority of legal scholars and jurists in the country. And that's all the Supreme Court said.
Here's what I worry about. During COVID, there were so many emergency measures, and so much was done that I think was unconstitutional. So the administration was relying on something called the HEROES Act, which granted the Secretary of Education what they call limited modification and waiver authority during a, quote, national emergency situation. So they used that to somehow cancel all of these debts. And that just seems to be something that was a misuse of that power. And I guess it happened constantly during this, quote unquote, pandemic emergency, right?
Yeah, that's right. This is not the first time. So to give a little context of what happened here, this HEROES Act you mentioned was passed right, in the middle of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and it was about, giving student loan relief to heroes, the military and people affected by war, who might have problems making some paperwork requirements for their student loan payments or something like that because they're fighting overseas. And so, in that context, the question is, what does it mean for the Secretary of Education to waive or modify a student loan statutory provision? And what the Secretary said was, well, I have this statutory provision that says I can forgive loans for people who are disabled or for people who are bankrupt. And I'm going to modify that to mean I can forgive loans to anybody. And as Justice Roberts says, that's like saying the French Revolution modified the status of the French nobility. It's quite the understatement. and the word modified just can't mean rewrite wholesale. Right.
Well, so true, so true. So in our final minute or so, can you tell us what is next for the New Civil Liberties Alliance? Any other interesting cases that you're involved in?
Well, one thing we're looking at immediately after this victory at the Supreme Court on student loans, we saw the Biden administration come out with a number of new student loan initiatives, including trying to do the same thing through another statute, including trying to turn repayment plans into forgiveness plans, and extending a student loan sort of repayment and interest moratorium, perhaps indefinitely, but for at least another year. And we think those activities are ripe for being challenged, especially after the Supreme Court just told the administration that they don't have power to do this.
Well, I really am pleased with the great work the organization does. And Mr. Sheng Li, thank you so much for being with us. And again, it's the New Civil Liberties Alliance Litigation Counsel, Sheng Li, filling us in on some very, very important cases and, of course, continue to support their work.